Okay, brother, take a knee. I'm a medic. I'll help you.
All right, thank you, brother.
Take a knee. Okay, turn your head to the side. Okay, open this eye as much as you can.
This is the Seattle Police Department. This is the damn people. What is this? This is insane. What is this? This is insane. Yeah, I'm mad. What's that officer's name? What's that officer's name?
Get back! Get back! Move! Get back!
This is the Seattle Police Department. This is the Seattle Police Department.
Get back! Move! Get out of here! Move! Move! You won't be resting if you don't move!
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. 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 Stay back, move her. No, you're not.
There's kids here, guys. Guys, we are for peace. We're here for
You hate God! 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 You don't love God! You don't love God! You're a devil! You're a wicked! You're a degenerate! That's what you are! I love you! You're a liar!
Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit!
That's how you get out! That's right! That's right! Break it up!
Peace! Peace!
He is looking like he's in pain.
Don't lose the propaganda war! Your boy got knocked out! That's right! You got knocked out!
Call someone.
Call an ambulance, baby! That's right, Nazi boy! Here's your fucking fury now, bitch!
Travel ban in majority countries after a weekend of angry demonstrations. Protesters flooded downtown Seattle and Los Angeles International Airport overnight. Now, that followed protests at several other major airports in the country. The president has ordered all travelers from Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen to be denied entry to the United States for the next 90 days. And he has suspended all resettlement for refugees for 120 days. Those refugees are often looking for a place to escape persecution or are fleeing war-torn countries. Under the order, refugees from Syria are banned indefinitely, but a series of weekend court rulings ordered all refugees on their way to the U.S. to be admitted.
Administration officials now say the ban will not apply to people with green cards, even if they come from one of the 7 nations. Jerika Duncan is at New York City's Kennedy Airport, where more demonstrations are expected today. Jerika, good morning.
Good morning. We spoke to lawyers moments ago who have been working on behalf of the detainees here at JFK. Now, that group of detainees reportedly across the country includes a doctor bound for Harvard University, graduate students, and several children. Huge nationwide protests erupted once again on President Donald Trump's second weekend in office. What started out Saturday as a spontaneous demonstration at JFK had spread to airports from coast to coast Sunday. Some of the first people ensnared were 2 Iraqis who had reportedly received asylum for assisting the U.S. military during the Iraq War. One of the men was released from JFK after members of Congress intervened. This mother, a green card holder from Syria, was detained in Dallas.
The ones with the visas, they're on the floor. They're tired, they're on the floor, and they're treating them really bad.
And a 5-year-old Iranian boy was held at Dulles for more than 4 hours before finally being reunited with his mother. Immigration lawyers said Mr. Trump's executive order had thrown airports into disarray. Steve Golden is one of the attorneys who volunteered his services.
There's really, very little to no warning of when folks are going to get released, so it's making it very confusing and very difficult.
As the protests mounted, federal judges in 4 states temporarily blocked immigration officials from expelling travelers who had permission to be in the country. But President Trump's ban on refugees remains in effect as officials review the screening process. The Obama administration had approved about 80% of refugee applications.
When you get a green card, when you get a visa, this is not a 5-minute thing. This is not a very quick, fill out a form and check a box. There is an extreme vetting process.
The ACLU, which is one of the groups challenging the president's executive order, reportedly raised $24 million in online donations since Saturday. Nora, typically that group raises just $4 million online in a single year.
Wow, Jerika, thank you.
I'm establishing new vetting to keep radical Islamic terrorists out of the United States of America.
We will not turn away children.
100 people packed into the Tom Bradley Terminal 4 here at LAX. A lot of folks out here, all protesting President Donald Trump's so-called Muslim ban. As far as I know, and as far as I've been told, there are still a number of people here being detained. These are folks that flew in from other countries, a part of Mr. Trump's Muslim ban right there. Among those people being detained at this hour, a mother and her young child. We also got word that not too long ago, a young Iranian girl, a student, was sent back to Iran shortly after her plane touched down here. There were so many people that wanted to be a part of this protest. A lot of them parked their cars miles away down the road from the airport and then walked all the way just to take part in this protest.
We see just in a short amount of time how people can mobilize when they see American values under attack.
With a stroke of his pen, President Donald Trump banned more than 100 million people from select Muslim countries. That turned airports around the world into scenes of mass confusion as travelers try to go to and from the U.S. and Trump's banned countries. Hundreds of non-U.S. citizens were detained at airports, including Los Angeles International.
There's a small group of people here that are being detained. We were briefed that it was an elderly lady that potentially has diabetes. We're also briefed that there was a young child that's being detained.
Well, I've talked to some families who have told me they didn't hear from their family members for hours, not knowing if they were safe, and then learned 2 hours later they were safe, but were being deported back.
In the name of anti-terrorism, President Trump restricted all non-U.S. citizens from the countries of Iraq, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen from entering the U.S. for at least 90 days now. Thousands are protesting. Mohammed Al-Ari is a U.S. citizen. His dad lives in Iraq and was just detained at a foreign airport while trying to board a connecting flight to LAX.
They took away his passport, they put him in a room with 30 other passengers, and he stayed there for 12 hours and he was sent back home. It's impossible for me to go back to Iraq. There was a price set on my head by Al-Qaeda. They sabotaged my house. They tried to kill me multiple times. The only way for me to see my dad is him coming here.
Trump's ban also includes green card holders currently living in the U.S. and people who hold dual citizenship in the U.S. and the affected countries.
That's an issue right now that is raising constitutional questions for people who have a legal right to be here, who have visas, who are being turned away.
We've got everybody back here behind us who's going to fight back.
Democrats may have been the loudest, but many Republicans, like Pennsylvania's Charlie Dent, were just as critical.
It was not well thought out. It was not properly considered.
Senators John McCain and Lindsey Graham warned the executive order will help terrorist recruitment because it sends a signal, intended or not, that America does not want Muslims coming into our country. President Trump did not take kindly to the criticism, accusing McCain and Graham of always looking to start World War III and mocking Democratic leader Chuck Schumer.
This executive order was mean-spirited.
Who got emotional over the weekend.
I noticed Chuck Schumer yesterday with fake tears. I'm going to ask him who is his acting coach.
That doesn't even deserve a dignified response.
Schumer tried to capitalize on GOP discontent today by introducing a bill to reverse the travel ban.
I object.
But it was quickly blocked by Republicans who support the executive order, like Tom Cotton of Arkansas.
This is not a Muslim ban. This is a temporary pause of movement from 7 countries.
If you can't overturn it with legislation, is there anything else that Democrats can do?
In the longer run, I truly believe this is unconstitutional, and I think it will eventually be overturned by the courts.
Dozens of Democratic lawmakers have joined him here on the steps of the U.S. Capitol tonight to make that case. They are surrounded by more than 1,000 supporters, Scott, who have been chanting, "Refugees are welcome here."
This is a Fox News alert. Not long ago, President Trump fired Acting Attorney General Sally Yates. She was a holdover from the Obama administration, and she refused to enforce his new immigration order. In her place, he has promoted Dana Buente of Virginia. One of the men at the center of this contentious immigration order is Stephen Miller, senior advisor to the president. According to some news sources, he is the very center of all this. He's here to tell us where exactly he stands at the White House. Stephen, great to see you.
Good to be here. Thank you.
So I first got to ask you about the news. When did this happen? What does it mean? And tell us about the replacement.
Right, so tonight we found out that an Obama appointee who was confirmed in 2015, was refusing to enforce the president's immigration order, defend the president's immigration order, and thus refusing to defend the Constitution and refusing to defend the country. It was a betrayal of her office, and she's being replaced with somebody who will enforce the laws of the United States.
Gallagher has more on what's going on there tonight. Trace?
And if you look at these pictures, Tucker, you can see, I mean, these guys are burning flags. They are busting windows. Right now, the entire campus at UC Berkeley is on lockdown. The police are trying to disperse the crowd, but so far, they're not going anywhere. You can see the fire right there. The teachers or the administrators are up on top of the building trying to spray fire extinguishers down. This was all over a speech by Milo. As you said earlier, he, of course, is a Breitbart writer. And the push tonight was to start this push so that campuses like UC Berkeley that are considered sanctuary campuses, which means they harbor illegal immigrants. They will not work with the federal government when it comes to illegal immigrants. They were trying to start this push to get federal dollars taken away from these UC campuses. Anybody who does not know, Janet Napolitano, who is the former head of Department of Homeland Security, former Arizona governor, she is now the president of the UC system. And right after Donald Trump was elected, she made this push to start this sanctuary campus policy that they would not comply with the feds. And what the Republicans on campus and what this speech was about tonight was to try and get this campus and other UC campuses, get federal dollars taken away from them if they are not going to abide by federal law. This speech was supposed to start tonight at around 6 o'clock. Well, they canceled it at 5 o'clock. The riots really began around that same time. And now you can see the crowd, it seems to be dispersing. Half the signs are anti-Milo signs. The other half are anti-Trump signs. So there's clearly a bigger issue going on here. The young Republicans on campus who are putting this thing on were told they could have the speaker, but they would have to pay the costs of the extra security, and they said fine. But of course, the protests, as you can see, have been ongoing now for a couple of hours, and police are having a difficult time trying to disperse this crowd. But the entire campus remains on lockdown tonight, except for these people who apparently won't leave. Tucker.
So, Trace, what exactly are we looking at? Do you know? We've got pictures here which are either live or just briefly delayed, and it appears to be some kind of vehicle. I can't tell what it is. It's a husk, a burned-out husk. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's like a to be honest, I don't know what that vehicle is. It looks like there's a wheel on top. I don't know if that is some kind of a vehicle. If you know, Jessica, just yell out at me. But I know they've been, you can see pictures earlier, they're up and they're slamming and busting into the windows. They've been throwing stuff at the police officers around there. They've been carrying protest signs around. They've been lighting flags on fire. And when one fire is put out, they go up and they light another one. Right now, they look to be just kind of standing around. But there is clearly an element of this crowd that is trying to stir things up. They think it's partly teachers. There are a lot of students there, and there are a lot of outsiders that came specifically to protest Milo Yiannopoulos' speech tonight on campus. So the breakdown, we don't know. Some of these pictures are from earlier. This is not the campus. That's in downtown Berkeley itself. You can see the campus right there, and when they kind of widen out, you can see that there is a fairly sizable crowd on hand for this. And again, it looks like it could be some kind of a cart that was overturned and then lit on fire, but quite honestly, I'm unclear. A trailer of some sort, maybe like a food trailer of some sort that might be, Tucker.
With the tires burned off. These pictures are a little confusing, Trace, because there's no evident law enforcement presence. People are standing around this burning vehicle like it's a campfire. You don't. Where are the cops here?
They're there. I mean, it's kind of hard to see them, but we've been watching this for a while now. They're there. I just don't know exactly where they are. I mean, they were inside the building. They were on top of the building. They were surrounding this. But they are certainly not being aggressive. I mean, look, you're talking about UC Berkeley. The protests here go back 50, 60 years, right? They do this on a pretty regular basis, and they knew this was going to happen. Go ahead, Tucker.
I don't think we have the pictures right here, but earlier we had shots of protesters trying to ram something through a glass barricade, through a glass door, which does seem a little over the top. Has anyone been arrested, do we know? And how's the state responding to this? The city of Berkeley?
We don't know of any arrests so far. We have not heard of any arrests so far. We know that, and you can, I don't know if that's tape or live. That's videotape from earlier. You can see they keep lighting these. We don't know of any arrests so far, but again, this is all kind of a fluid thing. We don't know the response from the state. I mean, UC Berkeley has its own force. They've brought in some, we know they've brought in some local police from around the area to patrol this, but they're kind of in a backed off position right now. They've told people that to leave. This is kind of a lockdown situation. But as far as tear gas, as far as going after and pushing some of these kids away and these teachers and whoever else might be a part of this crowd away, we haven't seen that yet. But
tonight should look at the people protesting and look at what color hat they're wearing. It's certainly not red.
But as you can see, she was wearing red. As we continued the interview, Kiara Robles paid for it. Are you surprised, ma'am? In a free country, with free speech, in this iconic place, no matter what a person's politics, that happened. Ma'am, are you all right?
Yes, I am. Thank you for asking.
Shut down by a bunch of people in black bloc, protester masks. It just got shut down by a bunch of people in black bloc, protester masks.
Back, but then we saw that group with the masks on. They had their own, shields that they made, for lack of a better term. A huge crowd there now.
And while we certainly don't know, and we'll try to find out, some of those protesters, the ones that showed up with the masks and the shields, may do this in other locations. They may be what you call professional protesters who do this a lot. Not actually students at UC Berkeley. They move around from one event to the next.
The speech that was scheduled there at UC Berkeley tonight is now canceled. You can hear cheering from the crowd as this light fixture now just goes up in flames.
Wow.
Look at those flames now. And the smoke that's being put off. Our Laura Anthony has been on the ground. She was on the steps of the student union there. She was Sproul Plaza when everything got intense. People started moving back when police started to use the tear gas, but they didn't leave. They stayed, and they're staying. And we have heard that it's canceled and that they have tried to let the crowd know that it's canceled, but it's hard to know how many people have actually gotten out.
Well, as Wayne told us from the balcony there, right above the flames, an officer appeared with a megaphone to try to tell the crowd to move on and that the event was canceled, but over the din of protesters and chants and all of the noise, he said it was very hard to hear them. Of course, with social media and everything else, everybody's got a phone down there. They now surely all know that the event has been canceled. But in the immediate moments after it being canceled, I don't think they got the word right away. Boy, look at this light generator. Just up.
Wayne Friedman is there, and Wayne, we have a little message from the Berkeley Police Department where they're saying an estimated crowd of 200 to 300 people, but obviously that may be more by now. You say it's a lot of people out there. We're hearing 500
It's a lot more than 200 to 300 people. It's a lot more than 200 to 300 people. Clearly. It's more like 2,000 or 3,000 people.
Oh, and we're losing his feed, and Sky 7 is now over the scene. We'll try to get Wayne back. But yeah, from the Berkeley Police Department, they're saying in the area of Bancroft and Telegraph, they're hearing of reports of vandalism, fires being set. We are seeing that fire, that light pole. Oh, Wayne.
There's nothing we can do with our signal.
Wayne, we're hearing you now.
This is phone signal.
Wayne, we're hearing you.
Okay, good. Excellent. If anyone had climbed those stairs to go into this building in front of this crowd, they would have been shouted down, and it would have been a ruckus, unlike anything we've ever seen. Now the crowd has come back in around that burning light. There you go again. That's another one of those loud booms, and yet that's nothing compared with what we've heard earlier. That's maybe half as loud as the loudest boom that we've heard.
Wow,
back up on the balcony, you see the Berkeley police officers looking down. They don't seem to be shooting any more tear gas. There's a band playing. There are people waving flags. There are people dancing. There's one person here with a tuba, and he's playing, and no one can hear him. And would you like to hear some reactions from students down here on the ground? Maybe that would be of interest.
Oh, and we just lost the signal right there. So we have Lillian Kim now on the phone with us. Lillian, where are you, and what are you seeing?
I'm in Sproul Plaza. I'm closer to Sathergate than I am to Bancroft.
Excellent. I'm glad you're hearing me. The crowd has been a little bit at this point. That light standard is still burning. People are moving. Excuse me, I just got a whiff of tear gas in my throat. There you go. They are moving people back some more. They've opened the blinds inside the building to show that on the second level that there's no one there. There are police officers on that balcony. And now I know why everyone else is moving back, because the tear gas is back out. And, well, what's happening now? Here we go. Someone has moved in closer.
Somebody's taking a selfie with the
Yeah, or doing a Facebook Live or something. Who knows?
Well, Wayne, stay with us. Don't go to Facebook Live in this case.
Yeah.
Wayne, you said that
they're now moving back in.
What the fuck?
threatened and in danger. 7's Brian Enton live tonight at Everglades National Park with more on what's going on. Brian?
Lynn, this is quite a mystery tonight. The big question, why would 95 whales all beach themselves? We're at a marina in Everglades National Park. This is where the NOAA scientists have been launching their boats from. They're headed out to an island about 25 miles behind us where all of these whales stranded themselves. And what's so interesting is the scientists tell us they have never seen a stranding this large for this species of whale. 95 dead or dying whales. It is a massive stranding, and it's only happened 2 other times in Florida history, and never this big. Scientists making the discovery on Saturday, and campers in the remote area of the southwestern Everglades also coming up on the dying false killer whales.
The biggest male was actually in the process of beaching itself as I departed. And it was just chilling. It was sand and water everywhere. You know, people scurrying, getting away from it and whatnot.
NOAA scientists say they tried to herd the whales back into the ocean, but they would not go. 72 died on their own and 9 were euthanized. There are still 13 whales in the pod scientists are trying to find right now. But the area, it is so remote, it's hard for crews from the Park Service and NOAA to get in. And they say sharks are showing up to feed on the dead animals.
There have been a lot of rescue workers coming in actually the last couple of days. They've been waiting for boats to pick them up and take them down to where the whales are stranded at to try to save them.
They're trying to figure out exactly why this happened. Is it because of some type of environmental poisoning, or did the pod follow one of their leaders into shallow water? Scientists say they hope to learn more by collecting samples. As for the campers in the area, this is the last thing they expected to see.
Absolutely stunned. I had no idea that there were that many. I mean, we've been pretty busy here, but people coming in, telling us about the whales being stranded. But I only learned a little while ago that there are 95 of them that are dead, and they're still trying to get the rest of them out. But it's heartbreaking.
So people in this area tell us that they have seen pilot whales strand themselves before, but never these false killer whales, and never so many of them. NOAA scientists tell us that they will camp out on that island tonight, working for the next couple of days to try and figure out what happened.
Thousands of birds found dead in the Yolo bypass. A CBS 13 viewer sent us these pictures and asked us what is causing this disturbing phenomenon.
We sent CBS 13's Macy Jenkins to Yolo County to get answers. She joins us live now in Davis with what wildlife experts had to say. Macy?
Well, Christina and Sam, those wildlife experts have been collecting these dead bird carcasses from the shore here for the last 3 days. Now, the virus that killed the birds, not a risk to humans, but it is a risk to other birds.
It's just shocking to see that kind of die-off. I've never seen anything like that before.
Walking along the Yolo bypass, Lawrence Campling saw this about a week ago.
Easily hundreds of bodies, hundreds of birds, all dead along the side of this flooded field.
More than 3,700 American coots, birds that look like ducks, all of them dead. Campling took these pictures and started to worry that something catastrophic was happening.
It's something that we deal with on the wildlife area fairly commonly.
Wildlife manager Jeffrey Stoddard says the coots caught a virus called avian cholera caused by a bacteria.
It's something that they carry with them year-round.
So we wanted to know what caused the virus to kill them.
It only comes out when they get stressed, and in this case, it's a physical stress.
Like shivering in the cold and being pushed out of their habitat because of high water.
Just like when we get sick, when we're close to a lot of our friends and not far away from everyone else, we spread disease much quicker.
Other birds like ducks, geese, and herons can catch the virus too. So the most important step for wildlife experts, collecting the carcasses to keep the scavengers from spreading it around.
And so it's been wonderful with the wet winter we've had to see all the wildlife come back. And therefore even more shocking to see something like this happen.
Now, UC Davis is working with the city of Davis. They have volunteered to incinerate these birds for free starting next week. Biologists do expect to see some more pop up, and they will pick them up as needed.
Boy, quite the sight out there.
It really was quite the sight.
All right, Macy, thanks so much, live in Davis.
Something is killing pelicans and making other birds sick. It's happening on Riviera Bay Lake, just south of Gandy Boulevard, after a massive fish kill there. Tonight, 10 News reporter Kendra Conlon has a heartbreaking look at the impact.
Look, there's a rainbow.
This is what Riviera Bay neighbors like Chuck Gall love about their peaceful place on the lake.
You see, I mean, we get every known bird to mankind almost, or at least in Florida.
But he says the birds are also a sign of typical trouble, a fish kill after the cold snap and changes in the chilly water. So far, the city says it's cleaned up 4,900 pounds of dead fish. But this year is different, killing birds too.
We see the birds coming. That's how we know the fish are dying, you know, because that's one leads to the other. But the thing is, we've never seen birds die, and that's the really sad part.
He's right here. We spotted this pelican clearly struggling and called bird rescuer Bill Riskets.
Just get in there, buddy. Make it easy.
The city says this week more than a half dozen pelicans have died, 15 others rescued, along with an egret.
If it was just a fish kill, we would not be nearly as concerned.
He's not in good shape. He can't hold his head up. Oh, I'll get him the penny right away.
With the birds dying, that's a different element, so we want to find out if there's something else causing it.
The city asked FWC to test if toxic algae in the water is to blame.
Watch out, watch out.
Not likely red tide, but they're also looking for other types of algae that could be toxic. So.
Get him in there. Okay. Okay, you're in. There you go. There you go. That's it.
We were good to call then, huh?
Oh, yeah. He could have been dead by tonight.
FWC hopes to have water sample results back by early next week. The pelicans have been sent to the University of Georgia for necropsies to uncover what's so unexpectedly killing these birds.